I transmigrated into a book, into a melodramatic novel called The Four Fiancés Favor the Babysitter's Son, and became the book's weak-to-death ultra-rich Johnson family heir, Ethan. This kind of plot you've probably seen before. The original's life was nothing short of a joke. My parents arranged 4 fairy tale-like fiancés for me, with the agreement that one would be chosen at my coming-of-age ceremony and married. But ever since a scheming babysitter and her 3 children appeared, everything changed. The nanny's family spent the male lead's money, then accused him of bullying them in all kinds of ways. They painted the nanny's son Daniel as a victim and made the male lead out to be an arrogant bully everyone despised. And that foolish man, who never spoke up, firmly believed his fiancée would trust him, so he didn't defend himself. Gradually, the 4 heroines became increasingly disappointed in the male lead. Finally, Daniel drove the luxury car bought by the 4 fiancés and ran the male lead down to death. Those 4 women didn't realize the truth until the male lead's parents investigated, and only then, filled with remorse, they threw themselves off the building in a double suicide. Belated affection is cheaper than grass, I sneered inwardly. I wasn't going to wrong myself. No one could take away what belonged to me. My gaze gradually grew ruthless. Now that I'm here, your good times are over. Laughter and commotion came from downstairs. I rose and walked to the window, just in time to see a warm scene unfolding in the living room. The nanny's son Daniel was surrounded by his 4 fiancées and his 2 sisters. The candles on the cake tower flickered softly, while the nanny Mary stood aside with a flattering smile plastered across her face. Today was Daniel's birthday, the same day in the original owner's memories when Daniel once again framed me and deliberately ruined the birthday party. I curved my lips, a trace of icy derision flashing in my eyes, then turned and walked downstairs. Daniel, make a wish quickly, Sophia said softly. She was the eldest among the 4 fiancés and had more say. At this moment, her look toward Daniel was full of pity. Yeah. Whatever Daniel wants, the sisters will all buy for you. Emily was lively in personality, holding a neatly wrapped gift box in her hand. Olivia didn't speak. She just looked at Daniel gently, quietly straightening the corner of his clothes with her hand. Ava stood to the side. Though her expression was cool, there was also a faint, barely noticeable indulgence in her eyes. Daniel's 2 older sisters were even more over the top. One straightened his hair while the other held up a phone taking pictures, constantly shouting, "You're the most handsome little brother." Nanny Mary nodded with a smile. Our Daniel has had a hard life since he was little. To have so many wonderful girls dote on him is truly a blessing. Daniel closed his eyes, put his hands together, his voice feigning grievance and fragility. I hope for the rest of my life my sisters will protect me and love me, that we'll never be apart. Just as he was about to open his eyes and blow out the candles, I suddenly rushed over and, with a whoosh, blew them all out. Everyone froze, staring at me blankly. I wiped a piece of cake with my finger, put it in my mouth, chewed twice, frowned, and spat. Ugh, tastes awful. As soon as the words left my mouth, I waved my hand, and the dozen-tier cake tower collapsed with a crash, cream and fruit splattering everyone. Ethan, are you crazy? Sophia was the first to react, glaring at me in anger. Sir, what are you doing? The nanny Mary also panicked and hurried forward to tidy up. We spent the whole afternoon getting this ready. Daniel's older sister, Sarah, screamed. Did you do that on purpose? Daniel finally gets to celebrate his birthday. I ignored them and walked over to the table laden with delicacies, picked up my chopsticks, and took a bite. The ingredients were all precious, treasured items from the household. They were even prepared by the master chef from the royal restaurant. Such fine things were naturally beneath them. I ate without looking back and said to the housekeeper Mary, "From now on, only the host may sit at the table. You need to know your place. Ethan, you're going too far." Emily's face flushed with anger. "What did Daniel do to you? You're always picking on him." "Exactly." Olivia also mustered the courage to say, "Daniel's so pitiful. How can you treat him like that?" Ava frowned, her cool voice laced with reproach. "You'd better stop. or we won't forgive you." Seeing this, Daniel switched into the wronged mode in an instant. His eyes reddened. He let out a thump as he knelt to the ground, tears falling like beads on a broken string. "Sir, I know I shouldn't be having my birthday here. I shouldn't be taking up your place, but I've never had a father since I was little. It's not easy for my mother to raise me alone. I just want to have one proper birthday. I don't mean anything else by it. Please don't be angry, okay? I apologize. The four of us will leave right away. Even if we starve to death, we won't set foot in the Johnson house again." This pitiable expression of his immediately ignited the anger of the four fiancés. They were used to being pampered, and this always worked on them. At that moment, their saintly compassion ran rampant and out of control. Sophia pointed at my nose. "Look at you. You forced Daniel to kneel. Why do you always bully him behind his back?" "Bullying him? I'm just eating a normal meal in my own home. Is it bullying to not let the babysitter's child sit at the table?" I said calmly. "You still dare say you didn't?" Daniel's second sister, Jessica, immediately chimed in. "We all saw it. You just can't stand Daniel doing well." "Then prove it," Emily shouted. "Prove you didn't bully Daniel." "All right, I'll prove it right now." I turned to the baseball bat propped in the corner, and the corners of my mouth curled up slightly. The original person had been framed by Daniel like this, and, unable to defend himself, grew more and more disliked. But I'm not that kind of useless, mouthless loser he was. People like him deserve to die. They don't deserve an ounce of sympathy. I walked over and picked up the baseball bat, weighed it in my hands, and in the stunned gazes of the crowd, I stepped toward Daniel, who was kneeling on the ground. "Sir, no." The nanny Mary screamed and tried to stop me, but she was held back by the bodyguards. The Johnsons' bodyguards were supposed to obey me, but the original owner was weak and never dared give orders. The tears on Daniel's face froze instantly. A flash of terror crossed his eyes, but he still forced himself to act pitifully. "Sir, I know I was wrong. Please, go easier on me." His voice sounded pitiful, but his expression toward my face was full of disdain, and his eyes were laced with hidden provocation. He didn't believe that this weak, useless young master in front of him would actually dare hit him. Whack! The baseball bat slammed hard into Daniel's face, the tremendous force sending his body collapsing backward with a dull thud. "Ah!" Daniel screamed, his mouth full of blood as he curled up and rolled on the ground, several bloody broken teeth he had spit out lying on the floor. I didn't stop. The baseball bat came down on Daniel again and again, each strike delivered with full force because I had a fire burning inside me. It wasn't because of the male lead. It was this melodramatic plot that gave me high blood pressure. Take that for pretending to be pitiful, you motherf asterisk asterisk asterisk. Take that for framing and framing others. You spend my money and still dare to bully me. Everyone was stunned. The living room was left with only Daniel's cries and the sound of a baseball bat hitting flesh. No one even dared to breathe loudly. They had never seen this side of me before. The eldest young master, who was always timid, who never fought back or answered back, had today somehow become a different person, his gaze so ruthless it chilled people to the bone. I didn't stop until the metal baseball bat was bent and covered in blood. I tossed it aside and took a breath. Daniel lay on the ground, barely clinging to life, faintly moaning. I looked down at him from above and sneered coldly. "This is my proof. I could have beaten this kind of scum openly, so why did I have to bully him in secret?" Only then did Sophia and the others react, hurriedly trying to help Daniel up. "Daniel, how are you? Get him to a hospital quickly." "Who dares move?" I suddenly shouted, swung a nearby chair, and smashed it hard at their feet. With a bang, 2 legs of the chair snapped. Everyone stopped in fright, staring at me in terror. My gaze swept over everyone present and finally fell on the 4 fiancés. If anyone dares to save him today, get out of the Johnson family. I swear, she won't even be able to find a door to beg at in Highshire. My tone was ice cold and piercing. My sullen expression did not look like a joke, something the 4 fiancés had never seen before. They were so frightened they trembled all over, forced to watch Daniel lying on the ground, unable to move. It was only then that I took a careful look at the four women for the first time. They really were as described in the book, each as beautiful as a heavenly fairy, the finest of the mortal world. Sophia was gentle and agreeable, Emily coquettish and lively, Olivia soft and serene, Ava coolly stunning. Unfortunately, they were a bit lacking in intelligence, with poor judgment, their minds clouded by lard. My gaze then shifted to the nanny Mary and her two daughters. The three women still wore expressions of fear and unwillingness. Their mouths moved, but they dared not make a sound. I withdrew my eyes and looked at the four fiancés, my tone calm, yet carrying an unquestionable authority. Since you are my fiancés, you should perform your duties. Tonight, Sophia will attend me in bed. For the remaining week, each of you will take turns once. What? Everyone was stunned. Before anyone else could speak, Daniel's eldest sister, Sarah, suddenly screamed, Mom, he actually made us take turns sleeping with him. I could understand me and my younger sister, but I never thought he'd even go after you, putting you on the list too. He's too... Anyway, I won't let him have me so easily. After saying that, she even effectively stomped her foot, the sight of which made me feel downright sick. Smack! A crisp slap rang out. I landed a hard slap on her face, making blood run from the corner of her mouth. Wake the hell up! What kind of fantasy are you having? I looked at her gluttonous, fat body with icy eyes, my face full of disdain. When I said sleeping with me, I meant my four superbly beautiful fiancés. What the hell are you all? Can I take 3 days off a week? I turned and shouted to the bodyguards at the door. These 3 women are now assigned to you as a reward. The only requirement is you mustn't let them be idle. The bodyguards looked at one another, clearly troubled. Sir, can we say no? Of course. I nodded. The bodyguards breathed a sigh of relief, elated. Thank you, sir. Anyone who doesn't want it can get out of the Johnson house. Before they could finish, I added. The bodyguards' smiles froze instantly. They exchanged a glance, then resignedly stepped forward, hoisted the still-dazed Nanny Mary and her 2 daughters, repeatedly saying, Thank you for the favor, sir, and dragged them out. The living room finally fell silent, leaving only me and my 4 fiancés and Daniel lying on the floor, barely breathing. My gaze landed once more on immortal beauty Sophia as I appraised her. Did you not hear what I just said? Sophia and the others were still stunned and didn't react at once. Emily was the first to regain her senses. Summoning her courage, she stepped forward, her face showing a trace of panic and resistance. You can't do this. We agreed that you'd choose only one of us to marry. If you want all of us, that's bigamy. It's illegal. I looked at her exquisitely beautiful face, reached up and touched it. What a smooth, soft feel. Then gave a wicked smile. Baby, you're overthinking. I'll sleep with all of you, then not marry any of you. Of course, that wouldn't count as breaking the law. Having said that, I ignored everyone else and walked over to Sophia. Before she could react, I swept her up in a prince carry. Ethan, put me down. We have to honor the agreement. Sophia struggled and called out, her delicate little fists tapping my chest, neither too hard nor too soft. I looked down at her, my gaze carrying a warning. Behave yourself, or I won't mind taking care of you right here. Sophia was so frightened that she immediately dared not move. Her cheeks flushed bright red, and she could only let me carry her toward the upstairs bedroom. Emily, Olivia, and Ava stood where they were, looking at one another, their faces full of shock, panic, and a barely noticeable complexity. I glanced back at them, a playful smile tugging at the corner of my mouth. Tomorrow it's Emily's turn, the day after Olivia's, and finally Ava's. You better behave, or you'll get what's coming to you. When we reached the room, I lifted my foot and kicked open the bedroom door, slammed it shut behind us and locked it. Sophia's cry was still caught at her throat as I forced her down hard onto the soft bed. Her struggles were like scratching an itch before absolute power. I yanked off my tie, a cruelty mixed with a touch of malice in my eyes. Sophia, remember, you're Ethan's fiancée. In this life, Alive you belong to me, and dead you'll be my ghost. That night, Sophia went from initial resistance to utter collapse, her eyes swollen and red from crying, and she never said another word of protest. Afterward, I wiped the tears from the corner of her eye, pinched her flawless face. If you'd been this obedient earlier, wouldn't that have been better? Sophia turned her head away, her ears flushed as if they could bleed, yet she quietly curled into my arms. The next morning, when I woke up, I saw Sophia sitting on the edge of the bed, looking at me with a complicated expression. Have you come to terms with it? I asked. Sophia shook her head, then nodded. I don't know, but I'll do as you said, take turns sleeping with him. She knew in her heart that the Johnson family's power was not something they could oppose. Resistance would only bring suffering. Besides, she didn't want to know whether what I said was true. I nodded in satisfaction, got up and walked to the window, drew the curtains, and downstairs, Butler James was arranging people to clean up the living room's mess. While Daniel was nowhere to be seen, he had probably been dealt with by the bodyguards. Let's go downstairs for breakfast, I said. Sophia followed behind me. When we reached the dining room downstairs, we saw Emily, Olivia, and Ava already seated at the table, each wearing a trace of unease on their faces. The breakfast was plentiful, but no one felt like eating. I picked up my chopsticks and ate leisurely, then suddenly asked, "What about Daniel? Who took him?" Butler James hurried forward to reply, "Sir, last night, the nanny Mary took advantage of the bodyguard falling asleep, snuck back, and rescued Daniel. We don't know where they went. Ran off." I raised an eyebrow, feigning indifference. No way. They're used to the good life. They wouldn't go back to living poorly. They'll come back to try again. Sure enough, as I expected, by noon the nanny Mary returned with Daniel, whose injuries hadn't healed, bursting straight into the living room. "Ethan, come out here," Mary shouted, frantic with emotion. "What have you done to my daughters? Give them back to me." Daniel cried out as well. "Sir, I know I was wrong. Please spare our family. My mother is old and can't take any more. My sisters are innocent too." I came down from upstairs and watched the two of them standing below, one playing the victim, the other inconsolable. They always coordinated like this to put on a show. But I watched them as if enjoying a good play and said to the mother and son, "Innocent? You spent my money and framed me. How dare you call yourselves innocent? We didn't." The nanny Mary's two daughters hobbled over, clutching their mother and brother and sobbing. "You bullied Daniel. You're the one who handed us over to the bodyguards. You are the cruelest person." "Oh," I smiled. "Me malicious?" "Putting that aside, just the fact that you stole and used things from my house. Calculated like this, that's a particularly large sum. It's okay if you don't know the law. I'll give you time to look it up on your phones and see what the specific sentences are. If you keep denying it after that, don't blame me." Nanny Mary's face instantly turned very ugly. A flash of panic crossed her eyes. She trembled as she opened her phone, and the more she read, the paler her face grew, until finally her expression went completely dark and the phone slipped from her hand and fell to the floor. Sophia and the others were stunned at the sight, their looks toward Nanny Mary tinged with doubt. You're lying. We didn't steal your things." "The sisters let us use them as we pleased," Daniel shouted, forcing himself to sound calm. Nanny Mary's eyes lit up when she heard her son say that, as if she'd seen a lifeline. "Really?" I turned to the butler James and said, "Pull up the surveillance." Butler James immediately took out his tablet and opened the study surveillance footage. The footage clearly captured Nanny Mary sneaking into the study, taking a jade bracelet out of a drawer and putting the whole thing into her bag. This was my mother's meeting gift for her future daughter-in-law. Its value could buy your whole family's lives. Before I've chosen a fiancé, those four of them shouldn't act rashly. I don't believe they'd agree to this either. After saying that I glanced at the four fiancés, they immediately averted their eyes from me, either lowering their heads or looking to the side. Seeing this, the mother and daughter trio went pale and were speechless. Daniel rolled his eyes and immediately began to play the pity card again. "Sir, it's all my fault. It was me who made Mom do this. I really had nowhere else to turn, so I thought I'd steal something to sell for medicine. Don't blame my mother. Blame me instead. Daniel, what illness do you have? Why didn't you tell anyone? Actually, the sisters could have helped you. Emily felt she had said something inappropriate. She turned to look at me, saw my expression was ugly, and changed her words. Actually, Ethan wouldn't just stand by and watch you all be left with nowhere to go, right? After she finished speaking, the look in her eyes was full of pleading, as if hoping I could save this pitiful family. Damn it, these gorgeous women are fine in every way, except they're all damn do-gooder saints. If you have the means, go be good yourselves. If you want to use my money and resources, there will be a price to pay. Fine. I agreed readily. Not only did the four women look stunned, but the mother and her sons all gaped in disbelief. Could it be the man had changed back again? Someone. While they were still bewildered, I clapped my hands and called the bodyguards. Take Daniel to the hospital. His mother and sisters go for matching tests. Once matched, perform the transplant. This completely stunned them. They only realized it when the bodyguards held Daniel back. He hurriedly pushed them aside and shouted at me. Mr. Lin, I never said my kidneys were sick. I just felt some discomfort in my stomach. It shouldn't be that severe. Shut up, I snapped sharply. At that moment, I was the domineering CEO incarnate. I don't want what you feel, I want what I feel. I think you need a kidney transplant. You need a kidney transplant. Then I yelled at the bodyguards. What are you all standing there for? Waiting for lunch? Yes, sir, we'll go right away. The bodyguard wiped the sweat from his brow, terrified, and tugged them out, pulling them along. Ethan, you'll pay for this. The Nanny Mary's shriek faded into the distance. Ma, sir, we can serve you in bed. His two sisters tried for one last struggle. I turned around and waved my hand quickly, signaling them to hurry up and pull down. I'm not into everything, damn it. As they were led away, the hall quieted down, and I could even hear the breathing and heartbeats of the few beautiful women beside me. Obviously, a few of them were startled by me. They sat at the table. You look at me. I look at you, flustered in an almost endearing way, like dough on a cutting board waiting for me to knead into a ball or roll flat. I nodded, pleased with their performance, then sat down next to Emily. Seeing me sit, she immediately stood up, forcing a smile. I'm done eating. You all can take your time. Just as she was about to flee in a panic, I grabbed her hand. What's the rush? Today you should stay with me. We'll go to the company first. Emily's face flushed instantly, her eyes showing a trace of panic and resistance. But in the end, she nodded. I understand. Around 10 in the morning, I was in the office handling company matters when Emily came in carrying a cup of coffee. Sir, have a cup of coffee. Emily set the coffee in front of me, her tone a little cautious. I glanced up at her, took a sip of coffee, and it tasted pretty good, a treatment the original owner never enjoyed, even in death. But he deserved it. A simp doesn't deserve a good ending. She stood there, not leaving, as if she had something to say. If you have something to say, just say it. Emily hesitated for a moment and said, Sir, the Nanny Mary just called and said they don't want to go through with the transplant. You see? I nodded. Don't worry, the hospital will handle it properly. You go downstairs first. If anything comes up, I'll call you. Emily was clever. Seeing that I didn't relent and didn't ask further, she withdrew. Of course, I had given the hospital instructions. First, have the three of them tested one by one. Then, after a few days, there would be rejection reactions. After rotating through everyone once, decide which one to keep. That way, each of them would have one fewer kidney. That night, Emily came to my room of her own accord, wearing a sexy nightdress and smelling of the perfume I liked. When I opened my eyes again, it was already noon the next day. I got up as usual, but suddenly felt some discomfort in my lower back. Thinking back over the past 2 days, it had indeed been crazier than normal. Looks like I need to take better care of myself. I'll focus on the important stuff these few days. After all, health is the foundation. Olivia is the gentlest and most considerate of them all, the ideal partner in a man's mind. Just as I was going up the stairs, I saw her downstairs, poking her head around and peering up the stairs. When she saw me coming down, She hurried back to the dining table. I still have things to handle at the company today, and Emily said she wanted to sleep a little longer. When I came to the table, a delicious breakfast was already spread out, and Olivia ladled a bowl of soup and obediently set it in front of me. The temperature's perfect, drink up. I took the soup Olivia handed me. It was just the right temperature, really so gentle and thoughtful it was almost ridiculous. When I looked up, my gaze met her lowered eyelashes. Her long lashes trembled like the startled wings of a butterfly, making my heart tingle. This is the flavor I like. So it turned out they were good at taking care of people. Olivia's ears flushed as I watched her, her fingers twisting the hem of her clothes. In a soft, small voice, she added, "If you like it, sir, I'll make it for you every day from now on." Every day, huh? I raised an eyebrow, set down the soup bowl, grabbed her chin, and forced her head up to look at me. If you have it every day, even the best thing gets tiresome. I prefer to keep changing the flavors. She understood what I meant. Her perfect face instantly flushed like a ripe cherry. Yet she didn't dare pull away and could only allow me to tease her. That's more like it. I happened to have a business trip, so I took her along as my assistant. During the day, I handled business, and Olivia quietly stayed by my side, organizing my files and serving tea and water. Not a single complaint. When we returned to the villa at night, she was even more thoughtful, tending to me, so while I was completely comfortable. This was exactly the fantasy I had about a partner before I entered the book, living life by day, enjoying life by night. A few days later, it was Ava's turn. She was different from the other 3 women, cold and clear like snow on a high mountain, yet extremely measured in everything she did. I had her accompany me to a business cocktail party. She wore a well-tailored black evening dress. Linking her arm with mine, she moved with poise, shielding me from a lot of unnecessary socializing, and without a sound helped me close a big deal. After the party broke up, I pinched her wrist as we got into the car and raised an eyebrow. "Didn't expect you had this ability." Ava lowered her eyes, her voice still cool, but with a faint, scarcely noticeable softness. "The Johnsons have taken care of us for so many years. The Johnsons' matters are my matters." It seems that constant yielding only makes people take everything for granted. Only by combining kindness with strictness, making them know what they stand to lose, can they truly feel how much benefit they've received. That night, I personally stripped her of her cold armor, and she became passionate toward me, afterwards obedient like a tame cat. After I had the 4 fiancés all well under control, Butler James suddenly reported that the nanny Mary and her family had been discharged from the hospital and were kneeling at the villa gate, crying and clamoring to be taken back to work. When I heard that, I couldn't help but snort with laughter. This whole family really won't shed tears until they see the coffin. Even now, they won't give up. Since they're so eager to court death, I'm happy to oblige. Actually, if they hadn't come to my door, fled far away, there might still have been a way out. I'm too lazy to bother arguing with these people. After all, since I arrived, they haven't harmed me in the slightest, only treated the original owner cruelly. But I don't have a good impression of the original owner either. Whatever abuse Turtle Guy suffered, he brought on himself, so I have no reason to help him get revenge. I only need to take back what belongs to me, and that's okay. Then live my own life well. That's better than anything about his mother. But for now, it seems this nanny's family doesn't plan to let go, and I can't be blamed for that. I had people bring the nanny Mary and her family in. Seeing them pale and stumbling as if missing a kidney, I felt nothing. Want to come back to work? Fine. I rested my legs on the sofa and spoke slowly. There'd a lot piled up in the backyard storage room. The garden needs weeding, and the pool needs cleaning. Those jobs are yours. Remember, work 12 full hours a day. Not a minute less, and you won't get any food. The nanny Mary's whole family went pale. Daniel trembled with anger. He was about to open his mouth to retort when his mother stopped him. "Thank you, sir. We'll go do it right away. We'll go right now." Nanny Mary was older and craftier. She smiled like a blossom, was the first to stand, and dragged her children straight toward the back garden. She's a slippery old hand, and I'm no pushover either. The little schemes in their heads are To me, like lice on a bald head. Obvious. They're just counting on the four fiancés' saintly hearts to play the pity card in front of them, spin a few nasty tales about me, and sow discord, hoping maybe one day they'll get a turnaround. Too bad. The greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. I won't give them that chance. I had the bodyguards keep an eye on them. Except for the time they were working, I locked them in the storage room, not allowing them within half a step of the main villa door. I watched the four fiancés like a hawk. Either they accompanied me to the company or stayed home with me. They didn't even get a chance to meet the nanny's family. Because I knew that, due to the plot, the four of them wouldn't be able to put up much resistance against the second male lead's family. Day after day passed, and the nanny Mary and her family were worked to the point of being unrecognizable by the heavy labor. Nanny Mary's back was even more hunched, and the two daughters had become thinner. Last time I complained they were fat, and now that they'd slimmed down, their first move was to flirt with me again. I only glanced and had them pulled away because they still didn't look good even after losing weight. Daniel's pitiful, pleading face had grown sallow and gaunt, which fit his image as the pitiable, put upon one. More than half a month passed, and they still hadn't seen the person they wanted to see. Now they couldn't take it anymore. If things continued like this, they'd either die or be driven mad. They were burning with resentment. One night, they finally gathered and held a meeting, thinking they couldn't just sit by and await death. But all of this was heard loud and clear by the people I had planted to keep watch. And when it came time to act, they really did it. They bought a knockout drug and bribed the bodyguards. Everything went so smoothly it seemed unbelievable. It even gave them the illusion that they were the chosen ones. Those destined for greatness must first have their hearts tested, their muscles strained, their bodies starved, their resources depleted, and their actions disrupted, so that their resolve is stirred, their endurance tempered, and their previously impossible feats become possible. They thought back over the ordeals of the past few months. They had been through all of that. Now it was time to accomplish something great. Late at night, the moon dark and wind fierce. The nanny Mary and her family slunk out of the storeroom, clutching a small bottle of sedative, slinking toward the main house's bedroom. Their plan was simple. First knock me out, then have Daniel consummate things with the four fiancés. By then it would be done and dusted. They'd embellish the story with more woes. The whole family would repeat their old trick and play the victims, and Sophia and the others would surely take their side. Unfortunately for them, just as they reached the bedroom door, all the lights in the corridor suddenly switched on. I leaned against the door frame, arms folded, half smiling as I looked at them. So late, not sleeping. What are you doing coming to my place? The four of them froze instantly. The sedative in their hands clattered to the floor. Sir, we're here to bring you a late-night snack. The nanny Mary reacted fastest, hurriedly forcing a flattering smile. A late-night snack? I bent to pick up the pill bottle on the floor and shook it. Is this the late-night snack you brought? Daniel forced a smile onto his flustered face, still trying to quibble. Yes, but you must have already had a late-night snack, so we won't bother you. He reached out to grab the thing in my hand. Don't, I sneered, snapping my fingers. The bodyguards immediately moved in and restrained them. I have eaten, but I loathe waste above all. Feed this to them. No matter how they struggled and resisted, it was useless. The bodyguards pried their mouths open and poured it in. Then the bodyguard walked over holding the laptop and opened a video. On the screen was the scene of Nanny Mary and her family scheming in the storage room. Daniel was grinding his teeth, saying he would ruin my reputation, that he wouldn't let me off after making me suffer so much. Nanny Mary sneered that she would make all four fiancés pregnant with Daniel's children, then have me raise their kids, so that the family's assets would belong to them for generations to come. The two daughters chimed in from the side, their faces hideous beyond measure. I had someone play another video, which showed the original poster being framed and falsely accused by them over the years. Daniel deliberately broke the antique vase, then lay on the floor crying, while the nanny Mary egged him on, saying the original poster had hit him. There's also a clip of him falling down the stairs, claimed to have been pushed by me. washing his face with soup and saying I'd splashed it on him. The evidence is conclusive. Do you have anything to say? I looked at them and said in a flat tone. Actually, I didn't have much emotion. The man in the video wasn't me at that time. The 4 fiancés were also alarmed and hurried over. They watched the video and trembled with anger. Sophia even swore out loud. You ungrateful brats. The Johnsons treated you so well, and you repay them like this? We were blind before. Emily clenched her fists, her chest rising and falling violently. Sir, people like this can't be kept around. Keeping them is asking for trouble. Even the usually gentle Olivia had red-rimmed eyes from anger. She didn't say anything, but the look she gave them was filled with disgust. Ava, always decisive and quick-tempered, was panting heavily, her gaze icy. The sisters are right. Hand them over to me. I'll deal with them myself. Watching the 4 women united in enmity, I nodded in satisfaction. In the original plot, after the male lead's parents discover the truth, the 4 of them tortured the nanny's family to death, and then the 4 jump from a tall building. But what's the point of doing that? This is what I hate most about these novels. After the male lead is abused, he either dies or runs away. Then others feel regret. But what good does that do? I prefer revenge for wrongs and vengeance for grievances. Don't worry, I'm a legal citizen. I won't dirty my own hands, I said slowly. But there are plenty of ways to deal with people like that. Lock them up together first and proceed tomorrow as planned. When Nanny Mary heard I was going to lock them up together, she suddenly panicked. No. Daniel drank that stuff. You can't. I was too lazy to listen to their objections and waved my hand for them to carry it out. That night, I had Mary and her family shoved into the speedboat and taken out to international waters, the sea wind howling and towering waves rolling. The mother and her 3 children, covered in blood, were shoved onto the deck. Their faces were blank with utter hopelessness. They liked playing the victim, did they? Then let their fate be truly pitiful. I'll make it happen for them. The bodyguards didn't waste any words and simply threw them into the sea. Piercing screams tore through the night, soon swallowed by the waves. Moments later, the surface of the water bloomed red, and faintly one could hear the sound of sharks tearing into their prey. Meanwhile, I boarded a private jet with 4 peerless beauties and shot up into the skies. Thus began the start of our round-the-world trip. We planned to play abroad first, then go overseas, traveling across the globe. Sophia was as gentle as ever, but with added allure. Emily was lively and playful, clingy and affectionate. Olivia was attentive in every detail, caring for me thoroughly, and Ava's aloofness faded, occasionally revealing a daughter's tender side. The plane pierced the clouds as sunlight poured over us. I looked at the 4 women beside me, each smiling like a blooming flower, and felt utterly delighted. The life that belongs to me is only just beginning.